Welcome to Marketing Recap, the weekly roundtable that gives you an inside peek into the latest news from the world of digital marketing and what it means for your business to help you stay ahead of the curve. Co-hosted by Cynthia Johnson of RankLab, Blake Jameson of BlakeJameson.com, and BJ Smith from The Busy Marketer. Ready to join the conversation? Let's get to today's headlines. Welcome to Marketing Recap. In this episode, we're talking about Facebook giving businesses their own social networks, what teens really think about social media, and what this all means for businesses. Before we go any further, let me introduce my co-host, joining us from Phoenix, Arizona, and celebrating the big 3-0, Mr. Blake Jameson. What's going on, Blake?
Hey, how's it going, BJ?
All right, so most people, when they get the day off for their birthday, they just chill out, but not you. Tell us a little bit about what you were up to, man.
Well, it was certainly the busiest day of the year, which I know it just started, so that might not be a feat, but it was a really busy day for me when I decided to take my birthday off from actually working in the office for Pool Supply World, and I thought that what that was going to mean is that I would get to work on remodeling my house, which, as you can see in the background, I've got a lot of work to do. But I started to take, different meetings or different calls and set up different stuff, and I ended up sitting at my computer all day. But I had a really good time. I recorded a video, which I posted on Facebook, and wrote a blog article and a couple email newsletters, and just a lot of cool personal branding stuff that I'd been neglecting for a little while, and finally got to take care of it. So.
Awesome. And from sunny California, we've got Miss Cynthia Johnson with us. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi, BJ. What's going on?
Have you been celebrating Blake's birthday too?
Yeah. Actually, Blake and I's birthday, we're 2 days apart, so my birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, that's right. So, maybe I can get as much done as Blake did. I don't know. I'll do my best. It is a Friday, though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Lucky
Friday
you.
means you go party.
Yeah, or just not do anything. Either way, it'd be great.
Cool.
That too. All right, of course, I can't forget to give a shout out to those of you who are watching us on the Googles or chatting us up on Twitter, #MRcap. What's up, everybody? All right, hey, I want to give a little bit of a follow-up for you guys to one of last week's stories. When I logged onto my Facebook page for The Busy Marketer this afternoon, I saw I have access to the new video layout. So how about you guys?
Oh, you jerk.
Yeah, I definitely know.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
logged
cool.
in. There's a nice little banner at the top. It says, hey, we've got a new video layout. Are you ready to try it?
Oh,
I didn't have
man.
time to play with it yet, but I got
I
it.
haven't checked all of my pages, so I've got quite a few. Maybe some of them have it, but I certainly don't on the main ones I check.
Most of my pages don't even have the call to action button yet. Like, I don't know what's
Are you
happening.
serious?
I'm so far behind, and it's not even my fault, so keep us updated on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of Facebook, our first story this week comes after another new announcement from Facebook, and it's something completely different. It's called Facebook at Work, and Cynthia's going to tell us all about it.
Yes, so Facebook had another announcement. They are giving us Facebook at Work pages. Not to be confused with business manager pages, completely different. What it is your company has to register a page, right? I've actually just submitted one for my company, RankLab, and basic information is like what's your name, your company email address, and your phone number. We'll get back to you, sort of thing. And what it's doing is that instead of you having your personal profile attached to it, you will actually get a new profile that's attached to the company, and then you can communicate and plan projects and so on and so forth right within Facebook's app. I actually, in my company, we use Slack. I don't know if any of you have used that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slack is my initial concern, which Facebook, of course, tried to address initially, was, the security issues of keeping that sort of material on Facebook, a platform that is people are very familiar with. They want to use, potential for it to be hacked, or the privacy settings, that the issues that Facebook has had over time, slightly a concern also. And you know, for me, and I don't know, Blake, I'd love to hear what you think on this, but I don't see this necessarily being the next big thing, and if it is, it's going to take some time.
So I think that so just to give you I guess more context, because I know that you use Slack, which I think Slack is awesome. I use it for a few different kind of side projects and communicating with really small teams, 3, 4, 5 people. I think it's great for that, and I use the mobile app and I use the desktop app. Now, where I think that Facebook for business, or whatever, is going to be super helpful is for more enterprise, bigger groups of people, because we don't, in my day job at Pool Supply World, we don't use Slack. We use Trello for kind of project management, but that's not kind of a communication tool. It's more just, like I said, project management tracking. So, I work with Pool Supply World, and we have a ton of different employees that all know a ton about our niche, which is swimming pool supplies, and I'm the person in charge of our branded blog as well as our social media channels. And so it's kind of a battle, or not, I don't know if battle is the right word, but it's a challenge to tap into all of the knowledge base that the entire company has as a whole, or as individuals, through something like email. So I can email the entire company, and I do occasionally, saying, hey everybody, just so you know, I'm running the blog. We've got this cool content calendar coming up of all these blog articles or all these social posts. If you have any ideas, that would be really helpful for me, because the reality is they're the people, our customer service agents are taking phone calls from clients or customers and getting questions, and there's probably questions that show up over and over and over again, and they kind of take it for granted because they just deal with it. They're like, oh, what's, XYZ about this kind of pump? They're just going to answer the question. If there was something like a Facebook, but it was both tolerated within the company and promoted, everyone could kind of share their, maybe it's me being selfish, but like if everyone could share their ideas of like the type of questions they have to answer for their customers, and I could have that all in one centralized place from an organization that's, the corporate office is pretty big, so I don't have time. I can't stop by everyone's desk. I can't email everyone individually, but if everyone could see in one single place, like, hey, we get this question a lot, maybe a new product just came out and people are wondering if it's compatible with this other product. Yeah. If I knew that that was an issue, I could very easily integrate that into like my strategy for either blogging or Facebook, content or anything like that.
Do you? I kind of feel like a bit of concern with just like the security of that.
Like what?
A lot of companies of that size usually use internal, apps and tools and messaging systems. That's my. I don't know what you think. That would be like, for instance, if say Sony was using that, and then.
Well, whatever Sony was doing, obviously didn't work for them. Happen. So. Yeah, I guess so. In my particular use case that I could imagine at my day job, security wouldn't be a concern. If it leaked, oh my gosh, everybody's asking about the IntelliFlow pump. Like, yeah. Okay, so it's not like I wouldn't expect for people to share like customer credit card information or something like that. But I think in terms of like broad strokes of talking about content or seeds that could grow into content, that would be extremely helpful for me. And I'm one of the very few people at the company that, if the CEO walked by and Facebook is up super big on my screen, it doesn't raise any red flags. Right. But if the CEO walked by our customer service center, where all these people are supposed to be on the phones with customers or whatever, and rather than seeing kind of our homebrew customer management system basically, and instead they saw like Facebook or Twitter, then that would raise red flags. But if it was adopted company wide and it's like, okay, this is our channel, it's not like these people are watching cat videos, they're talking to other people at the company, I think that would be fine. And I don't think privacy would be an issue, but I can sympathize with that, obviously, with the the Sony hack and stuff like that. So I don't know. I can see both sides of it.
No, I mean, I'm definitely am interested to see. I've tried to sign up for an account, where it goes. I always feel like with Facebook though, there's like that thing that they didn't say in the beginning that pops up halfway through, the first quarter of it being released, and you're like, oh, I get it now. So there's going to be a video pre-roll for 40 minutes, whatever. I'm just exaggerating, but like,
Yeah.
so I'm curious to see how that goes, or if.
Yeah, I mean, just on that really quick. So, in my experience, B2B Facebook marketing is like super freaking hard.
Yeah.
Because people are on there as individuals, not as business. And I know that the rep in announcing this talked about, well, we're not really sure how we're going to monetize. We might charge for the premium version. We might do ads.
Premium.
Exactly. If they did start to roll out advertising to business, that would be really interesting as a marketer thinking about B2B. Like if I could market to, all the companies that are using Facebook for business that are between 50 and 100 employees because my solution is good for them or whatever. That's just something that I haven't been able to do yet. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually Slack just rolled out a premium model.
Really?
Yeah, it's like $12.50 a month or something. So yeah, I guess that would be the other way. I think, if you localize it, monetizing it can be great because then it wouldn't necessarily have to be B2B. It could be, the local new restaurant. It's like, hey, here we're open in this,
Right. Right.
Okay.
That would be cool. That'd be cool.
So let me ask you guys this: are they starting to launch this thing a little bit too early? Blake, you were talking about Trello earlier, and in the chat room we're kind of talking about this a little bit on the Twitter chat. That what are the chances of something like this replacing a Trello or Asana or Basecamp? And right now they don't have the API integrations with Facebook at Work that they have with their standard Facebook stuff. So like the collaboration on Docs, you can share Docs, but there's no collaboration back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that launching without this stuff in place is going to hinder it?
No, not even a little bit. Because I think that what they're taking kind of the lean startup business model of launch with a minimal viable product and then pivot based on what people want, which I think is so much smarter than trying to develop like a full suite, a full solution or whatever, assuming what people want. So, I mean, obviously Facebook is a huge company and they have a ton of resources, and it's not the first time that they've rolled out a supplemental app that's in addition to, the normal Facebook stuff. Obviously they've got Messenger, they tried like the Slingshot, which was kind of the competitor of Snapchat, and all these things like that. Like, it doesn't really matter. They can do that pretty quickly, I think. And if something starts to get a little bit of a foothold, or people are actually asking for features, I think that they could build those out in a heartbeat if they wanted to.
Does this open the door for companies like Google? I mean, you look at Google, they're not. Yeah, we're on Google Plus right now, but you think about all the business apps that Google has that businesses are using right now. I'm part of two businesses, my own personal business, the college that I teach at, the last business I worked at. We all use Google for all of our email, for our documents, and all of that stuff. Is it such a stretch to think that maybe Google could go one step further and make a Google Plus type internal network for folks?
I mean, yeah.
I roll. I saw that.
So I manage the editorial staff for Social Media Club, and I do everything in Google Docs. And they had Facebook pages initially, and they were like flawed. And I think Google already, if they centralized the capability, I think that they would. I would trust that more. But that's my opinion. I have trust issues with Facebook.
So, I mean, on one hand, yes, I think that Google has the resources that they could build a full-service solution for businesses of any size. But on the flip side, like, just like Facebook, Slingshot failed or whatever. But not that Google Plus failed, but before Google Plus, there was Google Buzz, which was essentially just Google Plus rebranded, branded before, and they tried to make a social network to compete with Facebook, and they couldn't do it as good or as well or what like.
Yeah.
So I think that each of them have their strengths, and Google might have more of your trust right now, Cynthia, but I don't know. They do some creepy shit too, just like Facebook
No,
does. Like it just is not it's not on blast in the news so much, I guess.
no, I don't. It's not that Facebook is creepy stuff. I think Facebook that has some. They sometimes don't follow all the way through, and so the privacy settings and just weird little issues that they've had in the past, right? It's more like either like, oops, sorry, kind of thing. Whereas when Google does it, yeah, it's pretty, focused, and they knew what they were doing, and they waited out and they built it. They would probably, knowing Google though, they would probably just find a tool that's working really well if they had to start competing in the space with Facebook and buy it versus building it out. Buy and rebrand.
Yep.
We shall see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Google turned around and bought Slack tomorrow, or 37 Signals and Basecamp is pretty big, although Google could probably buy anyone. I don't know. It's tough to speculate. I think in terms of like document organization and whatnot, Google's got that on lock with the whole Google Drive and Google Docs. Like all that stuff is awesome, and I use it, and we use it at work as well. But Facebook has a social component or a strength that Google doesn't quite get. So they each have their place.
Well, and a lot of this we're talking about, they really want to bring together massive companies. So they're talking about, I mean, yeah, anybody can use it, and there's probably going to be different tiers out there available. But one of the things that they're boasting is, I went to a conference this summer or this fall, and the office that I was in, they had 600 employees, and that was one of many offices throughout the country that these guys have. And so could having a social network like this Facebook at Work help to bring this massive amount of people together a little bit better, and maybe find more people that have related interests or something like that?
Yeah, I think the real question is, why didn't LinkedIn do it? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good point.
Yeah, anyone from LinkedIn was listening.
Well, LinkedIn seems like they've been focusing so much on content because they've become, a content platform just as much as like a networking or recruiting platform, and they were never. That's a good point, and I hadn't thought about that before. But they've been really good about you can connect with the person that at the company you want to get a job at. But in terms of connecting with people that you work with, besides each having it on your own LinkedIn page, it's not like people are super connected through LinkedIn.
Yeah, because if they did that, then they could have anybody who joined the group automatically be linking out to the business in their page, which a lot of people don't do. And that's just maybe it's not a tech company or they're not as tech savvy, and that would boost. Not that that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean it could boost visibility, but the problem with when you start to mix like the work and play of social media is that it's just a mixed bag of I might have an employee that is so great when he or she's on the clock, but when he or she's off the clock, if they get into some weird stuff, like I don't want to be associated with it. So there's kind of that, I think.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of weird stuff, I think actually what you post on Facebook, that's probably a good transition into our next story, if you guys are okay with to move on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see, our next story comes by way of a viral post on Medium from a 19-year-old who tells us what teens really think about Facebook, how they use it, and other social apps. So what's this all about, Blake?
Sure. So I stumbled onto this on TechCrunch, and then followed that down the rabbit hole to a Medium article from a teenager that, oh no, everything went quiet. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Oh, Cynthia maybe just muted herself. Okay.
Yeah, she's
your background noise.
She's in the Twitter chats. She's quiet.
There you go. Okay, sorry about that. I thought I got disconnected. Okay, so basically, this guy just kind of breaks down each different social network. he starts with Facebook and basically says kids his age don't really use it to share or consume content, that it's kind of like an awkward dinner party that you just want to leave but you can't. But then he goes on to say that, you know, everybody's still on Facebook, obviously. Like, they have an account because if you don't, you're weird, because everyone has an account. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see, like, well, we don't want to, you know, we don't get content there and we don't post content there, but yeah, obviously we're there because everyone's there. So, you know, he does also go on to mention that, you know, people will use Facebook groups, which is, you know, cool, and I belong to some groups which I'm very active in, and I think that it's almost like being in a group is like using a list on Twitter where you can kind of filter out your content. And he talks about how, you know, you don't have to worry about the algorithms of Facebook or it filtering out the stuff that you're seeing or not seeing, and you're not seeing ads. When you go to a group, it's simply the most recent stuff was at the top, and then you scroll down and you see the other stuff. So it's really easy to stay up to date and in the loop. So I don't know what kind of groups he belongs to or other teenagers belong to, because the stuff that I belong to is more like, you know, social media managers or social media marketers, or, you know, people that are really into working remotely and kind of lifestyle design.
Yeah,
it's fun stuff, you know, and I love
same
that.
here.
Yeah, and, you know, and then so let's see, we'll scroll down. So Instagram, he says, is by far the most used social media outlets, and I can see his appeal. I agree that, you know, not having to deal with the filtered news feed and seeing what Instagram thinks is most relevant for you at the top. It's just basically based on time when it was posted, outside of, you know, a few of the sponsored posts, which I know some have gotten some lashback, where, you know, McDonald's might put a post in your feed and then you get a ton of people just posting, being like, I don't want to see this crap. So he said, this was actually really interesting. He said Twitter, a lot of his friends or whatever don't understand it, which is strange to me, because I feel like it's more, I don't know, I want to say more cutting edge. Oh, you're itching, Cynthia. Go for it.
No. I was just, I read something from someone and.
You're just like, oh, let me talk.
No.
Go. If you have something to add.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Okay, so.
Wait, hey, look, you know, we've been talking about for, you know, a couple of years now how the teens are leaving Facebook. And one of the places that folks were saying that they are is on Twitter. So it's kind of interesting to me to hear them say that. You know, I see some very specific demographics on Twitter, and then obviously because of my profession, I see a lot of business people, a lot of marketing people on there. And,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's interesting. Like, if they don't understand Twitter, I still think Twitter's fantastic because. And I know Facebook's trying to open up so that you can search posts, you know, more easily, but you find conversations on Twitter, and you don't really find conversations on Facebook. You find posts, which are a little bit less two-sided.
Unless you're in groups.
Unless you're in groups, exactly. Let's see. So Snapchat, he says, is quickly becoming the most used social network, especially with the advent of My Story. So that doesn't really surprise me. Obviously, that's a younger demographic. I know that one of the other stories we thought about covering today was the fact that Snapchat was charging $750,000 to advertise for a single day.
Yeah. One day.
Which I don't know. I have mixed feelings about. They have an audience, and they have a really engaged audience. So, you know, if teenagers are super active, like, you know, like this guy says, and something I think that's important to point out here is that this is one teenager, you know, so I'm, you know, one 30-year-old, and I could go on and write this big article about what I think about all this stuff, and it certainly doesn't mean that every 30-year-old thinks like I do.
No, it doesn't. But one of the things that's unique about his situation, you know, us out there in the working world, you know, we engage with people of all ranges. You know, this guy is a freshman? He's 19 years old and he's in college. So he's freshman, sophomore. He's around lots of people who are his age. So he is constantly around that demographic, and he tells us, you know, throughout the article that, you know, my friends this, the people I'm around this, you know, everything is not just specifically him, but everybody around him. So, I mean, yeah, it's not a scientific
Yeah, I
study
mean,
by any
so
means. But
so I totally get that he's exposed to more than obviously the thoughts just in his own head. But if you think back to, or at least if I think back to like high school or even in college, like it's pretty clicky.
yeah,
Or it was for me. So like in high school, I was into certain things. Like I played sports and I wasn't into like anything academic really. And so I hung out with those people, and I was in a shell of we all kind of thought the same of like, oh, we want to go, kick around a soccer ball or throw around a lacrosse ball, whereas, somebody else might be like, oh, no, all my friends in band camp, like, or whatever in band, we want to go do this other thing. So, I don't know. I mean, I know that it's bigger than just him, but at the end of the day, it's, okay, this is one teenager and his view of the world. I know if I could talk to teenage version of Blake, like, I'd be like, he had no idea what was going on.
that's the truth. Hey, look, if I could talk to 20-year-old me or
Yeah.
30-year-old me, I'd say something different. So.
Hey, so I just realized something, BJ, and I think that we should work this into the intro, but I don't think we've really even mentioned the fact that people can use the hashtag MRcap. I know we got a couple guys that were here last week and some newcomers, but I think we promoted that a lot harder last time, so just wanted to give a quick shout out that if people have questions that are listening, use the hashtag MRCap. It looks like Mr. Cap, and then we'll put you on the show.
And that's right. And this is something that we monitor all week long. We specifically have a Twitter chat that's live, that's going on right now as we're recording this, as we're broadcasting this over Google Plus Hangouts on Air. But keep it going throughout the week. If you have a question that you want to ask, comment that you want, keep using that hashtag. We'll keep an eye on it, and we may bring in something for the show next week as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cynthia, do you have
What are
anything
your thoughts on
Yeah,
this, dude?
I do. I was waiting. I didn't want to interrupt. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. One, I think that he's wrong about Facebook groups. Actually, the engagement will bring a previous post back up to the top, and so they're not in was it chronological order. So it's not post with So if I go back 4 days and like and comment on something, it'll go right back up to the top.
So it's chronological, but for activity, not necessarily for the post date.
Right. Exactly. And again, it depends, I think, too, on how large the group is. In the larger groups, you usually see them in order, mostly because there's so much activity and not a lot of people are getting, a couple days in at all. So that's one thing. The second thing is I think that teenagers are on Twitter. I don't think many people use Twitter the way that they should or the way that they could. I think marketers, this is what we do. We get it, and we forget that, my 20-year-old brother who's an Instagram genius and Snapchats, and he gets, he's on Twitter and he has maybe like 800 followers or something. But he has no idea what a list is. He has no idea, what a Twitter chat is or whatnot. He just sees that there's something trending, and he kind of jumps on board, and so on and so forth. So,
well, yeah, and I think a lot of the folks who are using Twitter, I mean, they who start off, they have the exact same problem. These guys, they'll go in, they'll follow a whole bunch of people, and the few people who follow them back have a list, have hundreds of other people, if not thousands of people that they follow themselves. So when somebody, puts up a tweet, they put up that one-time tweet, and they get no response to it. Like, this thing isn't working. Well, it's probably because it's quickly buried in somebody else's feed. They never actually saw it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely think I found a group on Facebook a while back, and it was MagCon, the MagCon group, and they had 40,000 members, all teenagers, and their posts were genius. I'm talking like I never saw.
I remember you told me about this.
Like the engagement, like the things that they put, I dare you to put to scroll through your phone and post the 8th picture that is in there in a comment, or what's the last emoji you used, or which sleeping habit is yours, and they were just thousands and thousands of likes and comments. It was crazy. And then Facebook took it down because of inappropriate gifts, I believe. It was like, because it got a little, they were still teenagers.
A little
but,
racy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's private. I mean, there was their little world.
Huh.
And it was great. So I think, yeah, the newsfeed has made it difficult to find what you're looking for. But when you create groups, yeah, just like lists, as you said, it's great, except for when you forget you join the group and it never shows up in your feed. So then you never know to look back at that group. So, you know, you post something in a group and maybe 6 people will see it. It's got 1,000 members.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. The death.
You know, it's interesting to me that like people will add me to groups without me knowing or my permission or whatever, and then I'll just start getting notifications.
Sorry.
Like, yeah, no. I trust the groups you add me to, but no, I mean, I get in some random groups and I'll just get in. You know, I'm like to think that I'm pretty on top of my Facebook notifications, and so if something pops up, and then it's like, oh, somebody, you know, posted a picture in, you know, whatever. It's interesting. So, you know, whereas like if I start a fan page, I could invite you to like the fan page, but you still have to like do it yourself so that you know what you're getting into. So it's interesting with groups that it's just like, no, they're your friend. We trust that like you can just add them to it and it's cool.
It's totally visible for everyone to see that you're in this new group.
Yep.
That
exactly.
you know, you want to be
Exactly. I could see that getting like a little bit dicey if it was either politically charged or about religion or anything that's really polarizing could be bad.
Yeah, there's groups for everything.
Yeah.
For everything.
Timothy says he gets so many swap meet invites.
Yes. Hey,
now,
some of those are cool.
he was one of the guys who said earlier that he's not in any quality groups. He can't find the groups that are really interesting. And I see a lot of this stuff on LinkedIn. You see all the suggested groups, and most of those are just like piled with people who are just trying to push their own stuff.
Right.
There are some very good quality groups out there, and maybe we can brainstorm a few that are public that we can let people in on a little bit later, maybe in the show notes, and say, hey, if you guys are trying to find a decent Facebook group, here's a couple to go look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can definitely suggest a few, and I'll send those over to you guys, and we'll forward them to Timothy, and then we'll bring them up next.
There you go.
I like it.
All right, do you guys have anything else to add to the story? What are we going to do about these teenagers?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said about the Snapchat paying to advertise, what I think is interesting is that, and I guess to catch other people up, basically Snapchat said to market on Snapchat, you have to pay $750,000 and we will promote your Snapchat story for 24 hours. On one hand, that seems like a lot of money, and it could be a giant waste of money. But think about, like, they're up to so many users. I don't want to misquote it, so I kind of want to look it up. But you look at the Super Bowl commercial, and that's, I don't know, at one point it was $1 million a minute. I remember that those days, and now I think it's like $3 million a minute.
Yeah.
Because you're just getting in front of really engaged eyeballs, and the fact is Snapchat has Super Bowl eyes like every day of the year. So I don't know. I don't think it's a bad deal.
No,
yeah,
I think it's a great deal. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the problem that most marketers have with this is the lack of control. So now you think about how we've grown up in the digital marketing space with Google AdWords and all the control that we have there, and then Facebook is giving us a lot of control to really narrow down the market. With Snapchat, it's just you buy an ad and you get, that's what you get. We broadcast it out. There's your day, and I think it's a very difficult pill for people to swallow at $750,000 with no negotiation, that you have no control over your audience other than it's the Snapchat audience. I mean, I think some people are just used to more control at this point.
Yeah, so on one side, so I get that, like with Snapchat doesn't have as much analytics as anyone else. Like I remember reading, and I pulled up that Adweek thing. They can't even tell you whether or not it was, females or males that watched your snap. Um, which I guess is, not ideal. But on the flip side, like if you have a product or a service or something, or you're trying to reach, the younger demographic, I just can't think of a better way to do it.
Yeah, Taco Bell, for instance, they were like one of the first to market with Snapchat, and they're really great in the teen market. $750,000 for that kind of reach is for them not a big deal, especially since they have a presence there already.
Yeah.
And
They
I know,
are fun. They are fun to follow on Snapchat.
yeah.
Yeah. Vine as well.
But that's the other thing too. It's like don't pay $750,000 and then put out a horrible Vine. I mean, a horrible Snapchat.
Right. You got to be familiar with the platform and know your audience absolutely, because otherwise you're just going to get crucified. Like you will get completely.
Oh yeah.
It would be terrible.
I'm thinking that the people who are going to pay this money, they are going to be the Taco Bells of the world who are already winning on Snapchat. They understand it, and they're doing the things right. They just want to expand their audience a little bit more.
Well, the interesting thing too is that it's not. I mean, the end result is yes, the Taco Bells are going to have the promoted snaps, but the companies of that size don't market like it's not usually internal. So they're hiring an agency. So it's the big boy agencies that are going to be the ones that are going to be like, all right, we need sign off on a $5 million social promotion, and they're going to be like, yeah, that seems legit, and then they're going to end up paying $750K for a snap, and depending on how they execute, it's going to go well or not. But it's not like it. I don't think the CEO of Taco Bell probably would even know where that money is going to go. He's just going to be like, yeah, I signed off on a whatever $100 million budget this year for advertising, and 10% or 50% or whatever is going to social, and then they're going to be on Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean that's usually how it works. And I think I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think the analytics in this situation are an issue at all. It's like you said, it's like Super Bowl commercials. You know what I mean? Like, the audience, they're highly engaged. You know that they're young. You know that they're always on their phone, and you know that they're most likely in movement. And they are viewing that Snapchat before, after they viewed someone that some friend of theirs Snapchat or family member. So like the emotional connection to it is then that much greater. It's like why won't people be side by side with something?
Oh yeah, I totally get that, and I understand how Snapchat's audience is, and my only point was that I think that there's so many folks out there who are controlling the purse strings. The people who are freaking out over it, and probably the people who are freaking out over it aren't the ones who can afford to buy it anyway. But those are the guys who are saying, look, you're not even giving us any kind of analytics. You're not giving us anything, and you want me to pay you how much? But yeah, I totally agree with you guys. We know what Snapchat's audience is, and you know what you're going to get when you buy it, and you just have to be willing to, understand that you don't need that kind of analytics because it's a pretty
eyeballs.
Set demographic.
Good eyeballs. Yeah, get those. It's funny to me that like they're being so strict and like not budging, and I love. So when I was living in LA, the PR firm that I used to work with did a little bit of work with Snapchat, and so we didn't get to do any of their marketing or promotion, but we did like events and stuff. So I've gotten. No, I'm not like close with Bobby or Evan by any means, but I've met them and gotten a little bit of a sense for them. So to know that like they're holding their cards like so close to home and just sticking with it, like I think it's freaking awesome. Cause they came up with a product that just blew all of the old geezers out of the water, and now they're just like, no, we want this much money, and we don't care if you don't want to advertise, then fine, you're not the right fit for us.
Actually, the only time I got upset with Snapchat is that I live in Venice, they live in Venice, and they did a Snapchat, and it was all about Venice and how wonderful Venice is, and I was like, don't share that with everybody. I'm like, because it's already like.
They have a lot of Venice pride for sure.
I'm like, bad move, guys. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the old Snapchat house down on the Venice boardwalk. which is actually where they recorded the Doors album.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to hang out at because they had the big Snapchat sign in front, and then like everybody would just be coming by and like taking Snapchats of the Snapchat building, and
No,
it was
and
awesome.
I don't want to, I live in the vicinity, and I'll be walking around with my dog, and like people will be like, "That's Snapchat's office." They're all over this.
Yeah, they're a little bit more secretive now.
Yeah,
than
they
the
have
old
a
location.
very cool.
Growing up. Well, thank you guys for sharing stories. Let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of Marketing Recap. I'll go around and let you guys tell the folks how to connect with you. So let's start from my left. Let's start with Cynthia.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just tweeting someone. Yes. So yeah, if you would like to contact me, you can contact me at cynthia@ranklab.com or at cynthialive on Twitter. And also, just throwing this out there, I am looking to add 2 or 3 editorial staff members to socialmediaclub.org. So if you're interested, please email me.
Yeah.
Yes, do it. All right, Blake.
Cool. So I guess the best place to find me is BlakeJameson.com or at Blake Jameson on any social network except for Snapchat because it was taken. On Snapchat, I'm Blake J Snap.
Blake, I write that down. I have 2 Snapchat friends. I need more.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, as for me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BJSmithStrategy. And come check out my other show, the Busy Marketer Podcast. I'm working on a brand new season, and I'm scheduling interviews. Since Cynthia put a shout out, I will too. So if you or anyone you know is a successful digital marketer and would be a good fit for the show, feel free to email me, bj@thebusymarketer.com. A very special thanks to everyone who joined us today on the Google Plus Hangout and the hashtag MRcap Twitter chat. Go ahead and mark your calendars for the same time next week. Thanks for joining Marketing Recap, the show that gives you a peek inside the world of digital marketing. Remember to join us next Thursday for the live show at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Google Plus or Twitter using hashtag MRCap. And please tell your friends about the show, subscribe via iTunes or Stitcher, and view all episodes and news stories at marketingrecap.com. See you next week.